Hello guys. Hello guys, this is Krish Naidu, and I'm the founder of a supply chain analytics firm, Lapnel. So we're conducting various series on forecasting, simulation, optimization, and predictive analytics. And this the series which we're conducting, it is about creating the exposure, awareness, and how to use supply chain analytics. Not only how to use supply chain analytics, but also trying to introduce the best practices of analytics to make the supply chain people or supply chain firms for using supply chain or who are into supply chain about how to use these techniques in their own form. We also provide supply chain analytics consulting and training. So if you are looking for any consulting, or if you are looking to improve if you are trying to solve any problems in the firm, you are trying to improve any level. So if you want to take the help of analytics, we are here to provide that help. So you can contact us on our number. I'll share the number at the end of the session. So you can contact us on the email ID or on the phone, the mobile phone, and we will take it forward from there. So guys, so I have just introduced about myself and my purpose. And today's session, I would also like to introduce about today's session. Today's session is all about the forecasting of the intermittent products. So what is intermittent products? The intermittent product means we do not have consistent demand, right? Suppose either we have a demand or we do not have a demand. And if we suppose we do not have the consistent demand for all the periods, suppose if I take one of the examples, this is the sales, or this is the sales of a product. If you look at this product, there is a period 1, we have a sale, and period 2, we do not have a sale. Period 3, 4, we do not have a sale. Right? So if I define this, if this is equal to 0, then I say no sales. And if it's orange, it means this sales. There is sales. So if you look at here, there is sales over here. So now if you look at this, there are periods where we do not have sales and there are periods we have sales. So forecasting this kind of product is very difficult thing, it's a very challenging thing. Right? So here in this kind of, let me build one of the chart for this. And I'm doing all this thing in Excel. Okay. Linear chart. If you look at here, the flat line, which you see the flat line, this is zero demand, and the spikes we have, right? The spikes we have, this is where we have a demand, right? So there is a flat line from period number 2 to 4. Then we have 8, 9 periods. We have flat line from the period number 11 to 16. We have flat lines. So we have a flat lines on this period. We do not have any demand on these periods. Right? So if we have such kind of demand where some periods do not have a demand and some periods having a demand, right? If we have such kind of data, then we say this is inconsistent demand, or we also define this as intermittent demand. Intermittent means demand occurs intermittently, in between periods. Demand occurs in between periods. When we have demand occurrence in between periods, it means there is a lot of variability. There's a lot of periods. If I do a prediction, in this period, let's suppose 20 units or 10 units here, right? What will happen if I predict for this period where I do not have demand, but I'm making a prediction, right? So if I'm making a prediction, and because the prediction value or amount or volume is a very high volume, then what will happen is that we are going to build inventory. When you're going to build inventory, it means it's going to cost us a lot of money, because what we are seeing that, what you're going to notice that sales will be very low. The sales will be very, very low for those periods. Some periods do not have a demand, and sales will be very low for those kind of periods, right? And if you are making a forecast and the forecast is more than zero, or maybe a higher value, right? And what will happen is that we are going to bring inventory into the warehouse, and if bring inventory into the warehouse, it means we are actually bringing in inventory which could not be sold, which may not be sold in the future. That is what the risk we are trying to bring inside when we are trying to predict, right, for intermittent demand. So in the intermittent demand, the technicality which is involved is predicting two different type of aspects. The first aspect is predict the period. After how many periods we are going to have a sale, or how many periods we are not going to have a sale. The first prediction is how many periods we are not going to have a sale. Or how many periods it will take to have a sale. Right? The two, either we have to predict one of them. The second thing is, if there is a sale, how much is that? In the normal forecasting methods, where we do prediction only for volume, right? Here in the intermittent demand, we are going to predict not only volume, but we are also going to predict the time period. How many periods it will take to have a sale, and how many periods we are not going to have a sale. So here we are going to predict, right? We are going to predict the sales, not only sales, but also the time period. So this is all about the intermittent sales technicality. And if you in the industry, some of the like MRO industry, MRO parts, right? And almost 70 to 80% of the items will have intermittent sales. Almost 70 to 80% of the MRO parts or spare parts will have the intermittent kind of nature. And if you are using a wrong forecasting method, which is actually like average, moving average, or something kind of whole single exponential smoothing or something, such kind of methods if you are going to use, then we are going to have a lot of forecasting issues. Not only forecasting issues, but also the fulfillment issues, the on-time delivery in full or cost of goods sold. Right. Those are two most important metrics which we are trying to control from the forecasting. If you are having a good forecasting, if you are controlling your forecast, then you are going to have a good control on two aspects. One is your on-time delivery in fulfillment, and then cost of goods sold. So that is the two important things we control using the forecasting. Okay. So it's very important what we are doing with the numbers which we have, what we are going to do, right? How we are going to analyze. If I have seen this particular chart, I clearly see there are flat lines from period number 11 to 16. There are flat lines between period number 8 and 9, and there is a flat line between period number 2 to 4. And if I have inventory for this number of periods, suppose if I have to calculate how many periods we have sales. If you look at it, there are 4 periods I have sales. Now I'm going to calculate no sales periods. For total periods, let's say. Total is 16, right? What is the percentage of periods having sales? And that is 4 upon 16. You see, we have only 25% of the periods having sales. 25% of the periods having sales. And if you are going to suppose and percentage of periods not having sales, is almost equal to 1 minus 25%, that is equal to 75%. So 75% of the periods is not having sales and 25% of the periods having sales. And if you are going to make a forecast, which suppose you are going to make a forecast and that forecast have almost every period having sale and that is uncontrolled plus uncontrolled, then we are going to build up huge cash, huge money into the inventory which is going to remain unsold. So that is a risk we have. So this is what we need to take care when we are going to forecast the intermittent products. So there are many kinds of forecasting models out there. Right? There are many kinds of forecasting models. Right? We can use Croston models. We can use Levenberg model. We can use ABS Graves model. We can use TSB model. We can use hyperbolic exponential smoothing hyperbolic exponential smoothing model. We can use linear exponential smoothing model. We can use Wright model. Right, there are many models which are available which you can use to do the forecasting for the for the intermittent products. So let us see few models and we'll try to understand their forecasting efficiency or efficacy over here. So I saw there are two things we need to forecast. One is the time period and another is the demand. Okay. So first I'm going to use a TSB model. A TSB model I'm going to use, and I am going to use two kind of TSB models, TSB model 1 and TSB model 2. Right. So what I'm going to say that, and for that I'm going to use my the alpha. This is my smoothing constant, and this beta, another smoothing constant. Alpha is let's say 0.3 and beta is 0.3 for example. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to predict my probability of having a demand. Probability of having a demand. So if you look at the first value, I have a demand. So I'm going to take this as 1. Means I have the chances that I'm going to have 100% demand, right, in the first period. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to predict my second, right, second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take alpha from here, I'm going to freeze this into, okay, and if there is a demand, if this is equal to 0, then my value is 0, or else this is equal to 1, plus 1 minus alpha, that is 1 minus 0.3. I freeze this into the previous probability. So I'm getting a value of 0.7, right? So this is what I'm using to predict my probabilities. And if you look at wherever we have 0, the probability is less, and wherever we have a demand more than 0, we have high probability. Here 0.37, 78.56, 90.49, 0 is 0.27. Right? So wherever we have a demand, the probability value is more almost high. And wherever we have 0 demand, the probability value is less. It means if the probability is less, it means the demand occurrence of a demand more than 0 is less. If the demand is more than 0, it means the probability of occurrence of a demand more than 0 is very high. That's what this model is telling us. Now, whatever it is. So here I am going to use if before that I'll take the average of my demand. This is my average. So are we messing up something somewhere? So L4 is what? This is L4. Let me check this one. This is 3. So this is my L4 into I9. L is not L9, this is L4. So the L4 is 12, L4 is 12, L4 into I9, L4 is not 12, L4 is 0.7 into I9 plus 1 minus L4 into L8. So this is our, yeah. So now we have a forecast. So let's map this one into this one. I'll name the first one as the history. Take the values of this. Select this one. Right? So whenever we do the modeling for the intermittent products, the most important thing is the obsolescence. Look at here. This is getting obsolete here. Right? This period is called obsolescence period. This period is called obsolescence. Means we are completely having no demand. Right, obsolescence. So this period is completely obsolete. This is the beauty of this model, right? Our model is also getting obsolete. Means our forecast is also showing that is mapping that obsolescence. Our forecast is also matching that obsolescence. This is very, very good model. By looking at, we have not yet measured the error or accuracy, but by looking at the mapping of the forecast, the TSB is the forecast, and red line, the red line chart is the history. And the history and the TSB are very closely matching. And the most important thing is the obsolescence. When we build forecasting for the intermittent model, the biggest challenge is that mapping the obsolescence. If you're not able to map the obsolescence, the model will not actually be, will be not very efficient. So in this case, if you see, it is completely doing mapping. We are achieving the obsolescence over here, right? So I'll show another model. Why I'm suggesting is that we need to achieve the obsolescence. Obsolescence means end of demand, right? End of demand means we are not having any demand for the product. That is called obsolescence. So here, if you look at this period is obsolescence, and our model is also suggesting the same thing. We are reaching that obsolescence. And the reason why I'm suggesting, why we are saying that by achieving this obsolescence, we are actually reaching, we are saying that we have a good model. The reason why I'm saying that, let me work on the another model. And that model, I'll say that is called, I have to reach one more thing. I have to develop one more thing, that's called forecast. The forecast I have to build. So this is not forecast. The forecast now we are going to build. And the forecast is just multiply the demand with the probability. Sorry. This is 1 into 11. This is 89 and 56. Right? I'll just make a smaller tweaks in this. So I'll just go and select the 0.7 from here, 0.7, so we will increase this. Wow, what a beautiful model this is, right? See how beautiful it is mapping. How beautiful it is mapping. Let's do the sum of this, and this is coming around 280. We need to further optimize this, so I will not discuss about the optimization in this session. So let's add this. There is a huge gap, 282 and 146. Let's also bring this information. So let me reduce this value to 0.3. Let's see how much change we get. This is coming down. Let me reduce this value also to 150. Right. Let me increase this value to 0.4. This is 156. Let me reduce this value further 1. So this is 200. I think we are reaching good amount now. Okay, I think we are good enough. So let me also make this another 1.6. Let's see how much we achieve. 1.9. This is 200. This is 0.05. This is 38. I think we have a very good model. And this is 2.6. 26. This is 24. This is 41. Right, so this is how we are building the model, and we can right now I'm doing a trial and error method that is not required. We can directly use the optimization instead of we can on the optimization model we can actually derive this 0.3 and 0.4. Even we can derive this level by using linear regression. Right now I've taken the average, but in real We can also use here the linear regression method to calculate our level. Means if I do over here something like if I choose my intercept, the intercept here non-y surface, and known x surface, this is 28.05, right? This is our what we say. And if I reduce this value now to 0.3, this is 150. I reduce to 0.2, this is 152. And if I reduce this to also 0.2, this comes to 177, right? So like this we can modify, and right now I have chosen the level which is the intercept, and from this intercept I am trying to build my forecast. Now I will use another model for this. And that is I'm going to call this as Croston. First I'm going to predict the time. Let's say this is my Q, the time between. I have a demand here, but I don't have a demand here, I don't have a demand here, I don't have a demand here, and the fourth period I have a demand, right? So now if I don't have a demand here, I have a demand here. So this is, and second period I got a demand. Now first period I don't have a demand, second period I don't demand, and third period I got a demand. So in this between 78 to 90, on third period I got a demand. Now here, first period, second period, third period, fourth period, fifth period, and sixth period, right? So we don't have any demand till 6 periods. So like this, we are trying to calculate how many periods, right? How many periods it takes to reach a demand. Like here, in the first we got a demand, but in the next one we don't have a demand. 1 period, 2 period, 3 period, 3 periods we took to get on the fourth period we have a demand, right? So now I have to calculate, I have to forecast time between two demands, non-zero demand. This is what I have to first do the forecasting. The forecasting is time between two non-zero demand. What is the first? So what we do for the first period, we don't do the forecast, we're going to take it from the history. So here if you see, this is my first non-zero demand, this is second non-zero demand. How many periods are there in between them? There are 3 periods, 1, 2 and 3. So the first one is whatever I had. Whatever I had, right? Now I have to forecast the second one. Let's say this is my alpha and this is 0.3, the 0.2. I'm going to forecast now. This is my alpha into this is my current plus 1 minus alpha into the previous one, that is J 5. For the equation P3 into I6 plus 1 minus P3 1 minus J 5. So this is my forecasting for the time period between two non-zero demands. So here we are getting, first one is 3, second one is setting 3, here 2, okay, 2, and here again is E3. Right? This is the forecast which we got from this model. Now I'm going to predict my demand level. Okay, the first one I can choose intercept. And this is my y. This is my x. And I'm going to do the forecasting using, let's say, my beta. This is 0.3. So this is 0.3 into the current demand plus 1 minus previous number is K5. Right? We got our level prediction also. Now I'm going to do the forecast. The forecast is what? I'm going to divide this level by the time period. Okay. Right? Now we are going to do the build the maps, and let's see how good is our forecast. So I'll put both the forecast charts and we will see which one is better. Okay, so now look which one is better. This is our TSB model. And this is our Croston model. Which one is decaying faster? Suppose we have an obsolescence here, right? This is an obsolescence. So what we want is that we want a fast decay of the forecast. If you look at, this is not a fast decay of forecast. This is a fast decay of the forecast. And this one is not as high as this one. Even if the forecast values are there, demand values are there, the gap between the forecast is very, very high. But here if you look at the gap between the forecast and the historical sales are closer to each other as compared to the Croston model. So on the intermittent demand forecasting, we need to see the decay means the obsolescence. The forecast should actually map the obsolescence of the history. And second, whenever we have the non-zero demand, it has to be closer to that. Right? So here, if you look at PFP, is showing that mapping. Whenever we have a non-zero demand, it is coming. Then the non-zero forecast is closer to the non-zero demand. And second is whenever we have an obsolescence, right? The obsolescence is also reaching very fast. The rate of obsolescence when we do the forecast using a TSB is reaching very fast. So these are the two important things of this model. So we have compared two models, the Croston and the TSB. We have to measure the accuracy, but by looking at the graphs, and by looking at the graphs in the objective is the obsolescence. The rate of obsolescence has to be steeper. And second thing, whenever we have a non-zero demand, the mapping has to be good or closer. Figure this is steeper. This is steeper, but this is not steeper. This is taking time. And if you look at this gap, right? And this gap, this is very high. Right? So what we are saying clearly here is that we don't want a model which has poor obsolescence, right? And second thing is whenever we have a non-zero demand, the gap between the non-zero demand between the forecast and the history is very high. So based upon this graph, right, I can easily reject Croston. I don't need to go to forecasting model, forecasting accuracy check to understand how close is my Croston versus TSB. I clearly understand the Croston is not as close as I want. The Croston is the rate of obsolescence at the end and the beginning is not as steep as I want. So clearly I am going to reject the Croston model. So guys, there are some other models also there which I don't want to discuss over here. We are actually conducting a training program on forecasting. If you are interested to join our training program, you can join us, right? And these are the details. My email ID is krishnaidu@maternal.com, and my phone number is +91. This is the WhatsApp number also. Right, this is a WhatsApp number also, +91 8977924637. The 91 is the country code. So guys, if you are looking to join our training program, we'll be covering a lot of aspects on the forecasting. So this is only we have spoken from the aspect of the intermittent demand. Say within intermittent demand, we're going to cover almost there are some other 3 more models are there. Right? So there are almost 10 models we're going to cover within the intermittent model, intermittent demand kind of having products which have intermittent demands. So almost 10 models we are going to cover within the intermittent model. So there are other models are there like ARIMA, SARIMA, ARMA, SARMA, right? Volts Winters, right? Volts method, single exponential, linear regression, multiple regression, right? We are going to also cover the logistic regression. We are also going to cover market analysis. Right? So many things we are going to cover in this forecasting, and it's a very, very interesting program. If you are interested to join, I think you should take the initiative to join this program, because it's one of the best programs you can ever achieve or ever get from anywhere in the world. Right? So I'm looking forward to speak to you and share what kind of training program we have, the structure, the brochure. Right? I'm ready to answer your queries. So please contact me at my email ID and the phone number. And hope you might have, if you have any questions, definitely share your questions on the social media, or you can also ping me on the WhatsApp and email ID. And I'll be answering your questions, with a lot of curiosity. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this video, and I'm sure that we'll connect with more videos in the